The Wife is First. Volume 3, Gathering Storm. Chapter 97, Battle Report. Since we lost Xiao Si, His Highness has never set foot in this courtyard again. Consort Xiao said nonchalantly. The Marchioness of Dingnan looked at her carefully and couldn't help but frown. The eldest daughter of the Xiao family used to be very intelligent in the past, but seeing her current careless and resentful attitude of laying blame on others for such absurd reasons, it didn't seem like her at all. Although she really didn't want to deal with this, the households of the Marquis of Dingnan and Prince Rui were already like grasshoppers on the same rope. If the eldest daughter lost power, even if Jing Chen ascended the throne in the future, they would not benefit at all. Thinking of this, she couldn't help the cold expression that came to her face. Didn't you cause all of this yourself? When Consort Xiao heard this, she glared at her stepmother coldly and said, "Mother, if there's nothing important, you should go back. I'm tired. The great sage you mentioned has hanged herself in Biyun Temple." The Marchioness of Dingnan clenched the handkerchief in her hand, trying to restrain her emotions, and spoke as calmly as possible. "What?" Consort Xiao's eyes widened. "That Mo Bei usually swindles food and drink from noble households, but you alone believed her blindly. Now that Xiao Si is gone, she must have been afraid that His Highness would blame her, so she committed suicide." The Marchioness of Beiwei took a deep breath and said, "I know you won't listen to what I say. So I can only remind you. Even if you are Princess Consort Rui, you are nothing if you do not have His Highness' respect." After saying that, she stood up and left without even looking at Princess Consort Rui's face. On the whole way back, the Marchioness of Dingnan remained very angry. She herself was born from a concubine. The former Marchioness of Dingnan had been born from an official wife, so only after she passed away was she able to become the new Marchioness. She had always hated those official wives who always blamed the illegitimate sons and daughters whenever they encountered misfortune. "Madam, if the princess consort is like this, what will happen if His Highness Prince Rui becomes cold towards her?" Seeing that her lady was angry, the maidservant next to her started scolding Princess Consort Rui. If she still has a shred of sense, she should quickly take the illegitimate son from the summer villa and raise him by her side. The Marchioness of Dingnan said a few words and stopped talking after she exhaled. She just sneered in her heart. The former Marchioness of Dingnan had raised this daughter and taught her to run the household this way. She probably also learned this attitude towards the illegitimate children from her. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Jing Xiao took his prince consort back to their residence. When the carriage stopped, the man in his arms was already fast asleep. The coachman lifted the curtains and the sun shone in, making Jun Qing's long eyelashes to cast two dark shadows. Making gesture to remain silent to everyone, Jing Xiao picked up the person in his arms and carefully got out of the carriage. The weather was already very hot, and even though the carriage was covered with jade mats, the two of them were still sweating while leaning against each other. Jing Xiao didn't care much, but he was afraid that Jun Qing would get too hot if he slept inside the house, so he put him on the soft divan on the veranda. As soon as he was lowered to the soft divan, Mu Hanzhong woke up and slowly opened his eyes. "Sleep a little longer and I'll call you later at lunchtime." Jing Xiao took the wet cloth handed over by a maidservant and wiped his face. Seeing the man on the couch had opened his eyes, he wiped his face as well. The cool cloth wiped away the stickiness on his face, and the gentle breeze blowing from the corridor was very refreshing. Mu Hanzhong couldn't help but squint his eyes in comfort. Secretly, he thought of how Jing Xiao was becoming more and more decent in taking the role of the wife of the Marquis of Wenyuan, but he didn't dare say it out loud. After all, his waist and hips were still sore. Jing Xiao saw the smile in his prince consort's eyes, but he didn't know the reason for it. He stretched out his hands to untie his belt. "What are you doing?" Mu Hanzhong hurriedly grabbed the hand that was reaching for his waist. He made sure not to say anything out loud, so why was this man making a move? Isn't it too hot to wear such thick court robes? Jing Xiao saw his blushing face and felt his heart skipped a beat. He slowly leaned over and asked, "What are you thinking about?" "Huh." Mu Hanjiang looked at handsome face that was leaning closer and glared at him. "It's quite hot. I'll go change." He was about to get up, but he was firmly pressed down by the person on top of him, making him unable to move even for a bit. "You're tired. I'll help you change," Jing Xiao said with a grin. Ever since that first time he had peeled off the complicated court attire from the Marquis of Wenyuan, he had developed a special liking to the process of taking off pieces of the Marquis clothing one at a time with his own hands. No, no. They were in the veranda of the main house in the east courtyard. Servants could walk in on them at any time. Mu Hanjiang was anxious and accidentally blurted out, "Aren't you enjoying this role of the Marquioness of Wenyuan a bit too much?" Jing Xiao immediately stopped what he was doing. His eyes gradually became dangerous as he said in a calm tone, "Jun Qing, what did you just said?" "No, nothing." Mu Hanjiang was stunned for a moment. He realized what he had said and backtracked subconsciously. "There is something I forgot to tell you. The eldest prince today, Jing Xiao quickly grabbed the two hands that was trying to push him away. He held Mu Hanjiang's two wrists together and pressed them above his head. "It seems that we have to re-establish who is the husband and who is the wife today." With that, he brought his free hand to his mouth and blew air on it. Then with an evil grin, he reached for the ticklish flesh of the person beneath him. "Ah! Ha ha ha! Don't, Mu Hanjiang tried to struggle, but he was miserably punished by Prince Chang. There was a small garden in front of the main house of the east courtyard where green bamboo and short trees had been planted. Miaoshi, who came to deliver tea, had just stepped through the moon gate when she heard the prince consort gasping and stopped immediately. She couldn't see clearly through the bamboo, but she could only vaguely see His Highness pressing the prince consort down. The young maidservant immediately blushed. His Highness was too unbridled. She didn't dare to deliver the tea anymore. She just turned around and ran away. After fooling around for a long time, both of them were sweating profusely. Jing Xiao simply lay on top of his prince consort and stopped moving. The exquisite court robes were pulled open, revealing a shiny chest, with a thin layer of glistening sweat over it. Mu Hanjiang gasped for a moment and pushed the big head that was stuck to his chest. The head was pushed back an inch before it moved back 2 inches spontaneously. He couldn't help but roll his eyes. However, he still needed to tell Jing Xiao about the move that the eldest prince had made today. Today brother-in-law proposed setting up a single port to try things out, and the eldest prince didn't actually make any objections about it. He even suggested that he wanted me to go and take care of it. This was actually what they planned from the beginning. Mu Hanjiang also wanted to personally go to the port and familiarize himself with this kind of business. He had always wanted to get involved in overseas trading, but since the imperial court had a ban on maritime business, whether as Prince Consort Cheng or Marquis of Wenyuan, it wasn't possible to do so. Even if it was not comparable to selling salt without license, it would still provoke criticism. Jing Xiao's eyes were fixed on a pink bean next to him. There were also those red bite marks on the surrounding skin that he had put on him last night. It looked very tempting. Of course he wouldn't be so kind. He probably wanted to send you out immediately since I'm still trapped inside the house and wouldn't know anything beforehand. I don't think it's that simple. Will they tamper with the port? Mu Hanjiang frowned. He always had the feeling that the eldest prince had become gloomier than before after returning from Yunnan Tibet region. Don't worry, just do whatever you want. No one can mess with you as long as I'm here. Jing Xiao said and moved forward again, like a big dog that saw meat but was too lazy to stand up. He tried his best to stick out his tongue and took a lick of that still somewhat red and swollen reddish bean in front of him. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. There had been no good news coming from Jiangnan at all. As soon as the fourth prince arrived in Jiangnan, he took all the military power into his own hands and did not allow the commander-in-chief of the Jiangnan military to follow him onto the battlefield. This was because the fourth prince was worried that the soldiers would not know who to listen to. Lu Zhanpeng was quite happy and enjoying his leisure time, folding his arms and watching the excitement. Since he wasn't allowed to go to the battlefield, he naturally didn't need to write a battle report to the emperor. Emperor Hongzheng couldn't help but frown when he saw the memorial sent back by Jingyu. It only said that the king of Huainan had withdrawn to the city gate towers and didn't dare to come out to fight. So far, there had been no progress. The truth was, the fourth prince was not having a good time at all. The king of Huainan was on the city gate tower, but his generals were below the city gate tower. Every day he would send a general out, as if to tease him. They would fight about and then they would run away, acting as if they were waiting for them to give chase. Once they chased the retreating Huainan troop, his own troop would be greeted by either a stumbling rope or sharp spike traps, which made him extremely angry. At this time, the Marquis of Beiwei's residence was currently celebrating the first full month of the Marquis of Beiwei's youngest son. Jing Shao really wanted to go see his brother-in-law, who had just turned a month old, because he heard that he looked very similar to Mu Hanzhong when he was a child. But last time, he had already left his residence because of the death of the fourth son of the Prince Rui's household. This time, the residence of the Marquis of Beiwei was full of powerful and influential people in the capital, but the mighty Prince Cheng, who was still in confinement, cannot go under any circumstances. The Marquis of Beiwei spoke to his guests with a glowing face and accepted all the compliments he had been given, regardless of whether they were genuine or not, as courtesy dictated. Mu Hanzhong greeted his father and went to the inner courtyard to visit his mother, who had just finished her month of confinement after giving birth to his younger brother. Lin Heir, be good. You'll get to see your brother soon. Lady Qiu was wearing a dress made of soft material. She was sitting on the bed while teasing her young son in her arms. Her slightly fat face looked shiny and rosy, and her eyes, which were similar to Mu Hanzhang's, were full of affection. Looking at the peaceful and beautiful scene in front of him, Mu Hanzhong couldn't help but curl his lips as he moved closer to the bed to see his brother. Mu Longlin's newborn redness had faded and his wrinkled little face had also smoothed out. He was fair and delicate, very pleasing to the eye. He was quiet and didn't cry out loud. His pair of big eyes moved slowly until his gaze fixed on Mu Hanzhong. He became curious and stared at his older brother. Lin Heir, this is your brother. Go on, say Gerger. Lady Qiu smiled as she held the child in front of Mu Hanzhong. Mom, he's just a month old, how could he called me Gerger already? Mu Hanzhong was amused by his mother's behavior. The earlier he is taught, the sooner he can speak. Back then, you were able to speak at 7 months old, Lady Qiu said before her smile gradually faded. When he was a child, Hanzhong couldn't stay with her as she wasn't allowed to raise him. She could only see him every few days instead of being able to hold him in her arms like she did with Lin Heir every day. She couldn't help but sigh and said instead, I heard that Princess Consort Rui took back the concubine's son from the 4th-rank concubine who had been staying in their summer villa. Why does mother always worry about the affairs of the Prince Rui's household? Mu Hanzhong found this a bit funny. She didn't even think about the Marquis of Beiwei's household but was always concerned about other people's families. He had not cared about these inner household affairs for a long time now. It would be for the best if Princess Consort Rui can accept the situation and move on. Lady Qiu sighed, no matter how good the relationship between His Highness and his brother Prince Rui, it is unavoidable for small mistakes to happen and resentments to pile up. You should encourage His Highness to be more open to his brother and speak with him frankly so that there won't be any misunderstanding between them. Mu Hanzhong looked at his mother in surprise. She could infer so accurately just based on the jealous rumors between women. It seemed that his approach was right. He didn't let Jing Shao investigate the matter at Biyun Temple any further because he was afraid that it might be a part of a bigger conspiracy and he would fall into a quagmire if he got involved. Jing Chen was much more astute than Jing Shao. People like him tended to think too much, so the best way was to be straightforward and not to shy away from blunt talk so that there would be less conflicts between the brothers. After coming out of the Marquis of Beiwei's residence and dealing with those relatives all day long, Mu Hanjiang felt very tired. He had left behind these vexing matters of the inner household for a while now, so dealing with them now annoyed him to no end. The simple and peaceful Prince Cheng's estate was a truly reassuring home where he could be at ease. With this in his mind, when he got into the carriage and found out that his imperial prince secretly came to pick him up again, he couldn't help but reward him with a kiss. ******. The matter of the maritime port was finally settled. The regulations of each ministry were drawn up, and the courtiers had no more objections to the temporary opening of a port. After the morning court session, Emperor Hongzheng called Mu Hanjiang to the imperial study. "This son-in-law is willing to go," Mu Hanjiang said firmly. "Where do you think is the most suitable place to open a port?" Emperor Hongzheng asked as he looked at the maps full of mountains and rivers in the imperial study. "This son-in-law think it would be better to open the port in the south of the Yangtze River." Mu Hanjiang lowered his eyes and continued without waiting for Emperor Hongzheng to ask, "First of all, the southeastern area has just been withdrawn from the vassal and is not stable. Moreover, Jiangnan is rich in products. We can have foreign merchants buy and sell everything there so as to prevent them from staying too long within our country and cause trouble." Emperor Hongzheng turned around and looked at him quietly for a long time. He took out a written instruction from his sleeves and handed it to Mu Hanjiang. "Zhen have already arranged it with someone. You can leave for Luzhu in a few days." Mu Hanjiang took the bright yellow envelope and knelt down to receive the imperial decree. Luzhu. Jing Shao looked at his imperial father's decree. Luzhu was not actually a province but the name of a place. It was not far from Pingjiang city. Because it was at the mouth of a big river, there was a sand bank there where egrets often roamed around and thus, it was called Luzhu. Imperial father-in-law asked me to leave in a few days. What should I do? Mu Hanjiang looked at Jing Shao. He thought it would take some time, but Emperor Hongzheng seemed to be more eager about this than he was. Jing Shao was still under house confinement. Didn't this mean that they would have to separate? Jing Shao obviously had thought of this as well and gradually frowned, wondering what on earth was Ji Huiqing doing? It had already been so long. Why hadn't he beaten Jingyu until he was crying and running back to the capital? In the morning of the next day, Emperor Hongzheng announced that the Marquis of Wenyuan would be the imperial envoy to go to Luzhu to organize trade matters. The Marquis of Wenyuan was already responsible for handling the tributes from and to other countries. As he was also the main author of the overseas trade proposal, sending him was wholly justified. Mu Hanjiang was secretly worried when he saw the malevolent glint in the eldest prince's eyes and felt a bad premonition in his heart. Jing Chen also frowned secretly. This time, the eldest prince and his faction actually didn't voice any opposition. He felt that something would happen if he let his brother-in-law go alone. Reporting. Just then, a loud announcement came from outside the hall, an urgent missive 800 li away. Emperor Hongzheng immediately had someone hand it over. This was an 800 li urgent missive sent by the commander-in-chief of the Jiangnan military. The words in it was simple and plain. It bluntly read, "The king of Huainan took the initiative to lead his troops and defeated the army of the fourth prince. Now, he had already captured 2 cities in a row and was about to invade Pingjiang city. That bastard!" Emperor Hongzheng was so angry that his hands shook. The courtiers looked at each other in shock. The fourth prince had been attacking Huainan for more than a month. It was fine that he couldn't capture even a single city, but he actually lost 2 cities in a row. It was really, "Your Majesty, the south of the Yangtze River is only 800 li away from the capital. Once Pingjiang falls, the capital will be in danger," the Minister of War said loudly in a resonating tone that he didn't normally use. After crossing the Pingjiang River, army troops could go up along the canal and gallop across some flat land to directly reach the hinterland of the capital. This was also the reason why successive emperors of the current dynasty were afraid of the king of Huainan. He was like a knife that was perpetually poised over their throats, as he could suddenly usurp them without warning. The fourth prince's battle report never mentioned this. Perhaps the commander-in-chief of the Jiangnan military was exaggerating. The Duke of Mao suppressed the horror in his heart and spoke as calmly as possible. "Your Majesty, we must not let the King of Huainan capture Pingjiang under any circumstances. The Marquis of Dingnan had defended Pingjiang city when he was young. He naturally knew the stakes involved and spoke earnestly. Imperial Father, this prince think that this matter is too urgent and everything else should be set aside for now. We must quickly send Prince Cheng to fight." Jing Chen stepped out of the ranks and spoke in a deep voice. There was a moment of silence in the court. Everyone knew what setting aside everything else meant. Now was not the time to care about training exercise for the prince who had just come of age, nor about house confinement order. This official also believes that Prince Cheng should be sent on a war campaign. The Minister of War declared loudly. This official second the proposal. This subject second the proposal. End chapter. The Wife is First. Volume 3, Gathering Storm. Chapter 98, The County Magistrate. Even though the fourth prince was arrogant and proud, he nevertheless also studied the art of war since he was a child. However, he was now being suppressed and beaten to such a point that he didn't have any room to fight back. It showed how skilled the king of Huainan in warfare. In this moment of crisis, everyone knew that only Prince Cheng could contend with him, so the whole court was in favor of sending Prince Cheng to this military expedition. In accordance to Zhen's decree, the fourth Prince Jingyu will immediately hand over the military power to Liu Zhanpeng, commander-in-chief of Jiangnan military, and Prince Cheng Jingshao will lead his personal troops to battle Huainan. Emperor Hongzheng took a deep breath as he suppressed his anger and issued a series of decrees. He demanded that Liu Zhanpeng must defend Pingjiang city while Jingshao was on his way there. He recalled the fourth prince back to the capital immediately to stop him from further embarrassing himself in front of the king of Huainan. Jingshao merely smiled when he received the imperial decree and had Duo Fu to immediately prepare Mu Hanzhang's carriage and pack their luggage. He also ordered Hao Dashao to go to Qi County ahead of him and bring his soldiers to the south of the city to be on standby. When Mu Hanzhang came back, he saw that Jingshao had everything packed and ready to go with the carriage. Va Wu. Of course, there was Xiao Huang who followed him into the carriage without anyone prompting it. "Why are we bringing the tiger?" Mu Hanzhang looked at the tiger lying on the jade mat with a blanket as the corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. Jingshao and Jiyu Huiqing had already set up the matter and the battle would only be just for show. Escorting Mu Hanzhang to Jiangnan could be excused since it was along the way, but what need did they have for a tiger? "I heard that the king Huainan had a lion that was extremely ferocious. This imperial prince was afraid that we might not be able to suppress it, so we're bringing the tiger to contend with it," Jingshao explained solemnly. "Fierce tiger." Mu Hanzhang stretched out his hand and poked the tiger's head. The fierce tiger immediately flipped onto its back to reveal its velvety belly as it looked up at him. They could definitely count on this fierce one to hold the battle line. He might even cause the defeat of an entire army. Mu Hanzhang had to go to the imperial palace again to explain that he would be traveling with Jingshao to Jiangnan. This time, they would test the feasibility of maritime business. There were not many officials that needed to be sent for this task, and they had all already traveled to Jiangnan first, leaving only Mu Hanzhang alone. Emperor Hongzheng didn't say anything much about it, as he felt that with him traveling with Jingshao, it would spare them the trouble of sending someone else to protect this scholarly and feeble son-in-law. Because the battle had already reached a critical point, the emperor did not send Jingshao off. Jingshao rode directly to the camp in the south of the city and left with his troops. The imperial edict from the capital was rushed to the south of the Yangtze River for 800 miles, and within 3 days it reached the hands of the fourth prince. By the time that Jingshao arrived in the south of the Yangtze River, the fourth prince had already left in defeat. Lu Zhanpeng personally led the imperial troops in fending off the attack from Huainan. You're finally here. Lu Zhanpeng took a sip of tea as he recuperated a little. Jing Xiao looked at Lu Niao's unshaven face and disheveled appearance and couldn't help but laugh at him. Why do you look like Jing Yu? How can you let a mere king of Huainan beat you witless? You're the one who looks like Jing Yu. Lu Zhanpeng rolled his eyes at him. You don't even know how incompetent that boy is and how many troops he lost. When I took over this mess, the huge battering rams of the king of Huainan had already reached the city gate. He still had lingering fear whenever he recalled that scene. Mu Hanzhong walked around the property with Xiao Huang. This residence was the new property that Lu Zhanpeng had helped them secured. It was full of the beauty of Jiangnan. In every 5 steps, there would be a beautiful scene. Every 10 steps was a pavilion with a small bridge overflowing water or waterside pavilions or bamboo grooves or flowering bushes. Layer upon layer were just dazzling to the eyes. Xiao Huang took a fancy to the large garden with a bamboo groove. It rushed over there to stake its claims. It frightened the servants in the garden into screaming one after another. After getting rid of the endlessly chattering Lu Zhanpeng, Jing Xiao wandered into the garden to look for his prince consort. He saw gurgling water surrounding the wooden waterside pavilion and the beauty in green robes who was casually leaning on the railing while reading quietly. A black and yellow tiger was laying by his feet, hugging one calf and sleeping soundly. The setting sun reflected on that handsome side profile, presenting a peaceful and beautiful scene. Jing Xiao walked over slowly. The wooden waterside pavilion was polished smooth and sleek. There were no seats in it, but there were several soft cushions scattered on the floor along with a low table. When he got closer, he realized that his prince consort was sitting on the ground barefooted. A fair and slender foot was placed on top of Xiao Wang's belly. The soft fur wrapped around his foot, rubbing against it, making the round toes look a bit pink. How is the battle going on outside? When Mu Hanzhong saw him coming, he put down the book in his hand. It's getting late, and the Huainan army has gone back to have dinner. Jing Xiao said nonchalantly. Luzhu is only 30 li away from Pingjiang. I'll go there early tomorrow morning and be back in the evening. Mu Hanzhong shifted his calf that had become sweaty from the tiger's warmth and was immediately grabbed by Jing Xiao to pull the limb to his side. No, wait for another 2 days and I will accompany you when I push Jiyu Huiqing 10 miles back. Jing Xiao looked at the foot in his hand with interest. He grabbed a furry paw that was limp from sleep and used it to gently scratch the tender sole of the foot. Mu Hanzhong got tickled and retracted his foot. There are official in Luzhu that was sent by imperial father-in-law. Won't you get recognized if you go? I'll pretend to be a servant and follow you for a day. Afterwards, I'll have them move the workplace in Pingjiang. Jing Xiao had already planned it for a while. The front yard of this house is still empty. It can be used as your government office. But, oh. Mu Hanzhong wanted to retort, but Jing Xiao carried him off on his shoulders. It's getting late. Isn't it time for the Marquis of Wenyuan to fulfill his duty as Prince Consort Cheng? Jing Xiao held down the man who was struggling to get off and slapped him on the butt. The next day, Jing Xiao repeatedly told Mu Hanzhong not to go to Luzhu before he rode Xiao He to the front of the battle. With nothing to do, Mu Hanzhong took out a pamphlet and read it. This was something that he asked Ji Ruoyi to write when he was about to draft the Maritime Business Charter. The Ji family had been engaged with overseas trading for generations and naturally know a lot about the business. He originally thought of bringing Ji Ruoyi over with him, but Lin Er was still young and the Marquis of Beiwei's household was not a peaceful one, so he had no choice but to keep her there. Not long after, he heard someone coming to report that a visitor came and wanted to see the Marquis of Wenyuan. Do you know who it is? Mu Hanzhong frowned. He didn't know many people in Jiangnan. The man claimed to be the country magistrate of Luzhu. The servant replied honestly. County magistrate of Luzhu? How could a humble magistrate of such a small county be so well informed? Mu Hanzhong stood up and said, have him wait in the main hall. After Mu Hanjiang changed his clothes, he went to the main hall to see this county magistrate of Luzhu and couldn't help but be frozen on the spot, elder brother Zhaoran. The person who came was none other than Qin Zhaoran, the top scholar in this year's imperial civil examination. Mu Hanjiang had not seen him since the Qianglin banquet. He did hear that Qin Zhaoran had requested to be assigned to be a local official out of the capital. He didn't expect that he would be assigned as the county magistrate of Luzhu. Qin Zhaoran looked at him steadily for a moment. Then he came back to his senses and immediately covered up the bitterness in his eyes. Then he bowed and saluted. This humble official respectfully greets the Marquis of Wen Yuan. End chapter. The Wife is First. Volume 3, Gathering Storm. Chapter 99, Eating Vinegar. Elder brother Zhaoran, there is no need to be so polite. Mu Hanjiang stepped forward to help Qin Zhaoran to straighten up and asked him to sit wherever he pleased. I didn't see you again after the Qianglin banquet. I didn't expect that you would go to Luzhu to be its county magistrate. Qin Zhaoran lowered his eyes and said, the politics in the capital is complicated. I don't want to wade into those muddy water. That's very true, Mu Hanjiang smiled and continued, His Highness also considered this issue, so he didn't urge you to stay. At that time, Jing Shao learned that they were study companions and thought to invite the top-ranked scholar to dine at their residence out of respect for his prince consort. Later, when Qin Zhaoran declined the invitation, Jing Shao also didn't pursue the matter further. Such rhetoric was just Mu Hanjiang's usual habit of calling attention to Jing Shao's good deeds. Hearing this, Qin Zhaoran sighed and said, this Zhaoran was insolent and failed to live up to His Highness' good intentions. He was able to secure this position in Luzhu, a populous and affluent county, entirely because Jing Shao specifically asked someone to take care of him so that he may achieve good performance results. He was very much aware of this and wasn't in the position to say anything contrarily. Mu Hanjiang smiled. The two of them studied together when they were young. Even though they hadn't seen each other for several years, they still felt close in their hearts, so he asked him about his situation after he left schooling with the Mu family. We made an agreement to study for another 3 years and promised to take the imperial examinations together. But unexpectedly by then you are already married. Qin Zhaoran looked down below, hiding the melancholy in his eyes. Mu Hanjiang smiled and did not respond. He picked up the teacup and took a sip. There was a fresh water spring that flowed in the property and the tea brewed with it was particularly fragrant. How did you know that I arrived in Pingjiang? Speaking of this, Qin Zhaoran's face suddenly became serious and he looked around. Seeing that he had something to say, Mu Hanjiang waved the servants to leave. One of the guards left by Jing Shao was unwilling to leave. However, Mu Hanjiang glared at him until he had no choice but to slowly move and stood outside the door. Don't go to Luzhu for the time being. Qin Zhaoran frowned, looking a little anxious. Why? Mu Hanjiang put down the teacup and his expression became serious as well. Someone is threatening my career as an official unless I have you arrested. Qin Zhaoran said slowly. Mu Hanjiang's body immediately tensed up and subconsciously pressed his right hand on the handle of the Hanzang's sword. Don't be afraid, Qin Zhaoran naturally saw Mu Hanjiang's defensive reaction and a bitter smile appeared on his lips. I am just a scholar, not to mention that Prince Cheng made sure that this place was heavily guarded. If I want to harm you, why would I come here in person? When he got to this point, he couldn't help but lowered his voice. Mu Hanjiang came back to his senses and looked at Qin Zhaoran apologetically and said, I had been on the battlefield with His Highness for some time and developed some habits that cannot be changed for a while. Brother Zhaoran, do excuse me. ******. When Jing Shao came back, he saw the guard standing pitifully outside the door. Well, why are you standing here by yourself? The right protectorate general behind Jing Shao came over and asked the guard with a smile. The Marquis and the country magistrate of Luzhu are talking over some sensitive matters inside, and the subordinate was not allowed to stand inside the room. The guard said aggrievedly. Bastard! Jing Shao kicked the guard aside. He had ordered him to protect the prince consort at all costs, but now his wife was locked in the same room with another man, and yet, he didn't take this matter into consideration. With this thought in mind, the exhilaration he felt while fighting on the battlefield just now suddenly disappeared and was replaced by anger. As soon as he pushed open the main hall door, he saw Mu Hanjiang sitting very close to a well-dressed young man, looking like they were having a great conversation. Mu Hanjiang turned around and saw a furious Jing Shao, and couldn't help but be a little surprised. It was just noon. How was Jing Shao done fighting already? From Jing Shao's point of view, this reaction was obviously that of guilt. He grabbed his wrist and asked, "Who is this person?" "This humble official Qin Zaoran greets His Highness Prince Chang." Qin Zaoran frowned when he saw that Mu Hanjiang's wrist was turning white due to Jing Shao's grip. Jing Shao frowned and looked at the man for a moment, and then he remembered this year's top-ranked scholar. "Why are you back already?" Mu Hanjiang was grabbed so hard that he had to twist his wrist and pulled it out of Jing Shao's hand. "I came back for lunch," Jing Shao said matter-of-factly. "Brother Zaoran should stay and have lunch with us." Mu Hanjiang stood up and asked the servants to add some more dishes for lunch. He thought he would be eating lunch by himself, but now Jing Shao was back and the two people behind him were obviously here to freeload a meal, so the previously prepared food would definitely not be enough. Qin Zaoran declined to stay since he had troubled others to take care of his work while he came over and had to go back quickly. Mu Hanjiang did not force him to stay. Jing Shao's expression remained poor throughout the meal. He knew that Qin Zaoran and his prince consort were study companion when they were young. At that time, when Qin Zaoran won the top-ranked scholar spot, Jing Shao thought that their relationship was nothing special since his prince consort didn't think much about it, so he also didn't care. Now though, no matter how he thought about it, there seemed to be something else here. The right Protectorate General poked the left Protectorate General to his ticklish side and whispered, "Is His Highness eating vinegar?" The left Protectorate General glanced at him and stuffed a chicken leg that he had just picked up to the right Protectorate General's mouth and said, "Eat." Woo! The right Protectorate General was gagged and had no choice but to chew on that chicken leg. Seeing that Jing Shao was unhappy, Mu Hanjiang thought that the battle today was not going well, so he picked up some food that Jing Shao liked to eat and put them into his bowl as he spoke of what Qin Zaoran came to say. Jing Shao's face softened after eating the food given by his prince consort, and he couldn't help breaking out in cold sweat after listening to what he had said. Fortunately, he didn't let Jun Qing go by himself. "I'll have Lu Zhanpeng investigate this matter. Don't go out for the meanwhile." For the next few days, Jing Shao went out to fight with Ji Huaiqing every day, while Mu Hanjiang summoned several officials sent to Luzhu by Emperor Hongzheng to Pingjiang. The first thing that needed to be done was mainly to amend the articles of regulations in accordance to the local conditions and to repair the docks. Jing Shao left the right and left Protectorate Generals at his disposal, so he left the construction of the dock to these two men. *******. Prefect of Zhangzhou. Mu Hanjiang frowned as he looked at the pieces of paper handed over by Lu Zhanpeng. This was what Lu Zhanpeng found based on the clues given by Qin Zaoran. Pingjiang and Luzhu were both part of Zhangzhou, so the prefect of Zhangzhou was Qin Zaoran's immediate superior, and it was this person who wanted to have Mu Hanjiang arrested. Luzhu was originally a harbor, so there are many foreign boats which docked here regularly. Those foreigners sell their goods in Jiangnan, and these officials all embezzled the money collected from them. Lu Zhanpeng sneered, "I guess the prefect of Zhangzhou must have been making a lot of money from this." Mu Hanjiang frowned further. He didn't expect that this matter would actually touch the interests of local officials. Now that he wanted to set up a trading port in Luzhu, it was tantamount to him taking resources from these people. It was no wonder that they will resort to such lowly method. However, That person clearly knew about his identity and still dared to blatantly threaten Qin Zhaoran to work for them. There must be someone more powerful behind supporting them. Moreover, since they could threaten Qin Zhaoran, did it mean that this person was also involved in taking profit from these overseas merchants? The situation on the battlefield outside Zhangzhou city was still tense, but the people in Jiangnan felt a lot more relieved these days when they heard that Prince Cheng had come to take command over, and the morale of the soldiers in Jiangnan was also greatly improved. Jing Shao asked the soldiers to remain calm before he rushed to the front of the formation with a long spear in hand. The Huainan army slowly made way for them as Ji Huaiqing rode his horse forward slowly. His Royal Highness, Prince Cheng, came into battle in person. This humble king is really flattered. This prince don't have the patience to quarrel with you today. Jing Shao casually put the spear on his shoulder and said, "Why don't we make a bet?" Ji Huaiqing curled his lips and spun the long sword in his hand a few times before asking, "How are we betting?" "The two of us will fight one bout. If I win, you will retreat 10 li and we'll continue the fight tomorrow." Jing Shao dropped off the long spear from his shoulder and slowly pointed the tip at Ji Huaiqing. Ji Huaiqing raised his eyebrows and said, "If your majesty is willing to fight, then naturally, I am as well." Before he could even finish talking, the long sword in his hand had already shot forward and slashed at Jing Shao at a tricky angle. Jing Shao turned sideways and brandished his spear, pushing away the blade in front of him and causing the long sword to falter as he stared straight into Ji Huaiqing's eyes. For a moment, there were flashes of swords and shadows as the two commanders were locked in a fierce battle while the battlefield was basically at a standstill. Several generals looked at each other, wondering how did things turn out like this. They two sides were supposed to be attacking the city while the other side defended it. How did it turn into a contest between their commanders? "Why are you in such a hurry today?" Ji Huaiqing pinned Jing Shao's silver spear and whispered, "I need to hurry home for dinner." Jing Shao glanced at him and stabbed him with the shaft of his spear. Oh! Ji Huaiqing was hit in the ribs by the shaft of the silver spear. He took advantage of this to grab the shaft with his arm and said, "I'll go, too. There's no portion for you." Jing Shao seemed to be in a bad mood, and his attacks became more and more ruthless. *****. The new house in Pingjiang City was named Ruoshui Yuan by Mu Hanjiang, which derived its meaning from the Book of Dao, which advises that one should be like water, which benefited all living things and didn't struggle against them. However, Jing Shao insisted that the name was his prince consort's way of praising him for his deep affections and taking only one scoop out of 3,000 water, since he insisted on only having him as his wife. Jing Shao would come back on time for dinner every day, but except for the first day, he never came back for lunch again. He probably realized that it was quite unreasonable to go home for every meal. Today, Qin Zhaoran came over to deliver Luzhu's account books and records. It happened that Mu Hanjiang wanted to talk about his thoughts on overseas trading, and so he had him stay for lunch in Ruoshui Yuan. The two of them had similar interests and therefore could chat about endlessly. "The inkstone you gave me last time is very useful," Mu Hanjiang said to Qin Zhaoran with a slight smile. "I always remembered what I promised you many years ago." Qin Zhaoran couldn't help but smile when he heard him mention the inkstone and thought of the time they studied together when they were young. Mu Hanjiang smiled without saying a word and personally refilled Qin Zhaoran's wine cup. He remembered that Qin Zhaoran did not have high alcohol tolerance. According to Jing Shao, it was easier to extract information from people when they were drunk. "How have you been these years?" Qin Zhaoran looked at the jade-like hand on the wine bottle and finally couldn't help but ask. "Whether it's good or bad, can brother Zhaoran not see it for himself?" Mu Hanjiang also refilled his wine cup and shook it between his fingers but did not drink it. "I didn't expect your legitimate mother would be so cruel." Qin Zhaoran raised his head and drank the wine, then refilled the cup for himself. He drank a few glasses before stopping. He looked at Mu Hanjiang's handsome face, which was almost within his reach, and sighed heavily. I had been waiting for the news that you have taken the top scholar position in the imperial exams, but I didn't expect that what I was waiting for was the bad news of your marriage." Saying this, Qin Zhaoran fell over on the table. He groaned several times as if he was both crying and laughing. Mu Hanzhong was stunned for a moment, then he looked down at the cup in his hand. "I thought you would take the imperial exam first." "Ha ha ha," Qin Zhaoran seemed to be drunk at this point. "I know that your official mother will never let you marry a woman, so I always have this delusion." Mu Hanzhong stood up suddenly and said, "Brother Qin, you're drunk." "Hanzhong." Qin Zhaoran murmured and fell asleep on the table. Outside the window, Jing Xiao, who had been standing for who knows how long, gradually clenched his fists. No wonder Mu Hanzhong passed the provincial examination at the age of 17 but did not participate in the imperial civil examinations at the age of 18. It turned out that they were both waiting for each other to take the top scholar spot before they would marry. This was no different from the tragic story of a talented young scholar who lived in poverty for 10 years, who dreamed of marrying his beautiful beloved, who in the end was married off to someone else. Then who was Jing Xiao in this story? The evil tyrant who wanted to break up this pair of Mandarin ducks? End chapter.